Hi, Arnau. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you today. Let's take a look at what you've done here in this stacked bar chart. Let's see. The bar chart below illustrates the car selling activity registered in 2018 in different European countries for three different brands, such as Ford, Audi, and BMW. Overall, there were differences in every territory, but mostly all vehicle sales followed a constant trend. But Hungary, which was the top selling nation, and Belgium, which had very significant low numbers. Every car brand was sold unevenly across Europe, however. BMW was the most consistent in all territories. Okay, so there's a lot of information here. I really want to go through both your introduction and your overview. I thought your overview was too long, but before we do that, there's also some issues with vocabulary that I found need to be looked at. Okay, so first of all, let's do that. Um, Avoid this word, okay, below. Basically, what's going to happen is it's going to be on a different page. I mean, it would be inappropriate for you to use the word below. So rather than make any references to the location of the graph, just say instead the bar chart provided. Okay, that's all you need. And then if you say provided, it's always correct, regardless of whether it's on the previous page, on the same page, on the page above. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so because even here, your use of the word below is inappropriate because it's actually the bar chart above. So just stick to something like the bar chart provided. Okay. Now, I thought some of the language here, like I said before, was a little awkward. The car selling activity registered is a little too wordy. Okay. Now, I understand that you're probably trying to use your own language as much as possible and trying not to use the language from the prompt, but still, I think you could have done this a little more clearly. Okay, here it says presents the car sales. Fine, but what could you have said here? The bar chart provided illustrates, let's see, illustrates, how about just the sales of cars? It's fine. And another thing about this using your own language thing that we hear about a lot. Yes, it's true. You should not and you cannot copy chunks of text from the prompt. You shouldn't do that. It'll work against you. However, something as simple as car sales is okay. All right. But since you wanted to rephrase it, do it like this. The bar chart provided illustrates the sales of cars registered in 2018 in different European countries. Okay, that should be capital E. And I wouldn't say even different. Why don't you just tell us how many countries it is? Okay, I think it was 9. I don't remember. I can't see it. I have to count. But anyway, in any case, just say in 9 different European countries for 3 brands. You don't need to say different again. For 3 brands. And then here's another issue, such as is as if like there are more and you're just showing us 3 of the brands that are included. So such as is not correct. You could have said specifically because it's 3 brands and then you tell us what the brands are. So let's try that sentence one more time. The bar chart provided illustrates the sales of cars registered in 2018 in 9 European countries for 3 brands, comma, specifically Ford, Audi, and BMW. Okay, and then the sentence works really well. Then, like I said before, I thought your overview was very big, and again, it had some problems with vocabulary, and those vocabulary problems led to a lack of precision. Let me show you what I mean. So you said there were differences in every territory. They're not territories, they're countries. Okay, I didn't really feel that that was helpful. Okay, and then it just wasn't really very specific. Like there are differences. Well, yes. I mean, one would assume that in a chart there, you're not going to see everything the same. I mean, that would be an anomaly. That would be actually, you know, unexpected. And then this was wrong, followed a constant trend. The reason why I mention this is that when you're using these kinds of words like constant, increase, decrease, and so forth, these are action words, okay? They show change over time. Okay, or in the case of the word constant, a lack of change over time. However, this is not a bar chart that shows us change over time. It's what we call a static chart. It's literally like an image of one point in time, 2018. Okay, so it would be inappropriate to use words that refer to change over time or the lack of change over time because there is no change over time. There's just one moment in time. Does that make sense? I hope so. So a lot of times we refer to this particular one as a static chart, whereas ones that do show change over time, we call dynamic charts, okay? So when it's a static chart, you need to use the language of comparison, but not words that imply change or lack of change over time. Okay, so let's see. Now here you mentioned Hungary and Belgium, which I think was relevant. You should have included. Um, and then I also liked this, that BMW was the most consistent. So for me, your overview should have consisted of those two pieces of information, and then that's it. So we talked about the introductory sentence quite a bit. So for me, your overview should have been something like this. Overall, Hungary sold the most cars and Belgium sold the least, while BMW was the most consistently sold in all countries. Done. That's it. Okay, so it's clean, it's to the point, and it gives the information that is required. Okay, so this is how you want to do it. So task one is really a lot different from task two. Task one is very just what's the word I want? I mean, you have a very specific purpose. You're supposed to get the information out without using too many words. You don't have the time. You have 20 minutes to write this whole thing. And it's important to make sure that you've included all the key information that makes this understandable. Okay. So as mentioned before, Hungary was the only region where sales almost reached 400 million. Careful, it's no S here because you have the number in front of the word. And then I don't believe we're talking about euros. I think we're talking about cars sold. Yeah, so it's the number of cars sold, not how much money was earned on those cars. So be careful. This is inaccurate, and this is going to lower your task achievement score. So Hungary was the only region where sales almost reached 400 million. Full stop. On the contrary, Belgium was the only country which saw their car sales, again, not revenue, below 100 million, comma, no again, no euro, closely followed by Italy at 110. Okay. I disagree with the use of the expression on the contrary here. We don't use it like this. I see it misused all the time. What's more appropriate here is in contrast. So look up a little bit about how these words differ, how these expressions differ, and how we use them is different. In regards to the rest of the states, a general selling trend between 200 and 300 million cars, not euros, was observed in the time period except France, with barely 310, falling behind Hungary as the top leaguer. All right, that's fine. Again, just be careful with this whole thing about euros. So I like what you did. You summarized, okay? So you looked at the totals. You talked about Hungary, you talked about France, you talked about Italy and Belgium, and then you kind of smushed the rest of them together, which is exactly how I would do it, okay? So fine. I may not have ordered the sentences exactly the way you did, but I think what you did is fine. So, I mean, if you're talking about how I would do it, I would have said the top selling country was Hungary with almost 400, followed by France with just over 300. In contrast, the country with the least sales was Belgium at just under 100,000, followed by Italy with just over 100. The remaining countries, and then I would name them, this is important, UK, Germany, Ireland, Holland, and Poland, all sold between 200 and 300. That's exactly how we would do that paragraph, okay? All right. In regard to each car brand revenue in 2018, BMW presented the most consistent numbers, averaging 100 million euros sales in each country, but Belgium where Ford with 80 million out of 90 was the top brand selling vehicle. The vehicle company Ford had different fluctuations in their sellings among all countries. All right, interesting. So where is it? Okay. I absolutely agree with what you said about BMW. I think that's perfect. Averaging 100 million sales, again, not euro, remember that. In each country but Belgium, where Ford, let me see what happened with Belgium and Ford. Where'd it go? Okay, yeah, fine. Okay. And then where Ford, okay, that's fine. And then this sentence I didn't like. But more importantly than that, let me tell you what is actually a really important thing here. You never mentioned Audi. You mentioned it here, okay, in your introduction, and then you never mentioned it again. And so we're missing some very key information here, okay? Um, it's not enough detail. And so without any information at all about Audi, you're not going to be able to get above a 5 for task achievement. Okay, you needed to at least tell us something about Audi's sales. I mean, they were sold in the 9 countries. So, is it 8? Hang on. 3, 6, 9. Yeah, it was 9. So, I mean, we have absolutely zero information about this, except that it was one of the companies whose cars were sold. So, like I said, that's not going to be able to get you anything more than a 5 for task achievement. Isn't that a shame? But let's talk about another problem we have here. We just established that there are 9 countries, right? Where did you mention them? You mentioned Belgium. You mentioned Hungary. That's fine. Let me see. Did you mention any others? I thought you mentioned Italy. Okay, you mentioned France. Okay, yeah, you did. So you mentioned 4 countries. So I know some information about 4 countries, but I don't even know the names of the other 5. And that's a big deal. Because I have zero, like if I were going to try to recreate this based on your description, I would not be able to. And that should be your goal. That should be the ultimate goal. Like a band 9, task 1, a person will be able to, with some accuracy or with a good amount of accuracy, be able to recreate what it is you're looking at. But even at the lower levels, like some sort of accuracy should be attained. So for me, the biggest problem is that you didn't mention all 9 countries, and I had explained to you at some point where you could have done it. There are a few places. The easiest place, as far as I'm concerned, is in your introduction. So where is it? Okay. So I had told you here in 9 different countries, and then right after the word countries, put the names of the countries in parentheses. At least you've mentioned them, so no one can accuse you of missing out on that key feature. But then again, and that would have, without having the names of those countries, you're looking at a band 4 for task achievement. Without any details about Audi, you're looking at a band 5, okay, because there's no detail. But of course, obviously the lower score would have prevailed here. So these are some of the things that I want you to be concerned about as you start writing, okay? Let's see. Yeah, so I'll tell you really quickly, because this has been rather long, how I would have done this paragraph as far as the individual cars are concerned, okay? Again, it's a really sweeping look. I absolutely agree with your assessment of BMW that BMW sales averaged 100,000 in all countries except for Belgium, where it was like maybe 5,000. Ford was popular in Hungary and Holland with 150,000. The least popular in Germany and Italy with around 20,000. Okay, and then you can by deduction you can assume that everything else is in between. And then you can really quickly say that Audi sold also around 150,000 in Hungary, but also in Germany. Okay. And then you can again say that the least Audi sold were in Belgium. and you can say what that number is. So that's really how you do it. And then by process of elimination, you can assume all the other countries sold somewhere between that. Okay? So that's how I would do it. All right, so let's move on then. Let's take a look at your task 2 about pollution. This is a reasons and a solutions essay. Let's see. Nowadays, there is a rising concern among people living in cities about the continuous increase of pollution. The main concern is focused particularly in large urban areas where citizens are suffering the consequences, such as water contamination, okay, air with high levels of carbon dioxide, or exposure to high noise pollution. Okay. Nevertheless, there are some actions which can be taken in order to improve the situation. Examples can be seen in some countries, especially, not especially, you need an E here. In Northern Europe, I would have capitalized Europe, where greener policies and procedures are being implemented. Okay, fine. Okay. So the first reason behind high levels of CO2 in large populated areas comes from the main way of transport used by the population, the car. It is quite common to find traffic jams and busy hours around the city, which highly contributes to CO2 emissions and increases noise contamination. Moreover, rubbish in the streets and parks has become a problem of major concern in some urban districts. Modern plastic packaging, massively produced by supermarkets with the accelerated rate of consumerism, is highly over the, okay, get rid of the word highly, it's awkward here, is over the recycling capacity of most of these areas. Okay, fine. However, there are some nations, such as Sweden or Denmark, which are working on new green policies in order to fight these problems and maintain an eco-friendly balance in highly populated areas. First, the investment in a high-quality network of public transport is the first step in order to reduce traffic jams in the city. Great, okay. Secondly, recycling strategies such as bulk buying or reusing the old packaging to store food and goods is helping to reduce household waste. The results from these trials in Europe are now being seriously studied, and similar systems could be soon implemented in other countries across the world. Okay, this is very nice. I have one uh, suggestion, okay, that I want to provide here. You did this. You said firstly, and then you went straight to secondly. What's important to do is you've got this idea here, this high network of public transport. Okay, well, talk to me about it. Explain to me. You've told me that it's a solution, but you need to explain how it's a solution. What would it do? How would it help solve this problem? Okay, it's not enough when you're giving solutions to just kind of present the solution and assume that the way it would help is self-explanatory. It's not, because potentially this high quality network of public transport could emit more CO2 emissions than cars currently do. Okay, so it's very important that you explain to us how your solution is a solution. Okay, it's not just enough to tell me the solution. All right, and then here I thought this was fine. This sentence really didn't tell us a lot. It was just a nice kind of conclusion, but I think you could have also maybe done the same thing here. You said bulk buying and reusing old packaging to store foods is reducing household waste. Instead, these products are being given new life and not ending up in landfills, damaging our environment. Okay, so a sentence like that, which really just explains and supports what it is you're saying, I think would have been very helpful. Okay. To conclude, pollution in every different way is a problem that modern societies cannot here you need to say this, can no longer ignore or procrastinate. The abuse of fossil fuels in vehicles and the constant generation of rubbish coming from the plastic packaging industry is becoming a harmful scenario for people living in cities. Therefore, the urge the urge to implement new and greener policies, such as promoting the use of public transport or new recycling practices, is immediate, and the changes have to be done. Okay, now that I read the whole sentence, the word urge is not right here. You want to say the necessity. or this is also strange, have to be done. Let's try it one more time. Therefore, the need to implement new and greener policies, such as promoting the use of public transport, or new recycling practices, is immediate, and changes have to be made. Okay, that would have been good. So just some little vocabulary things. So overall, I really liked your task too. I thought the language was very nice. I thought in general, you have it. You understand task achievement. You understand coherence and cohesion. Vocabulary was appropriate in most places except for down here. Okay. So I thought this was a well-written essay, but I do want you to keep in mind what I said about support. Support is really important when you're aiming for bands 7 and higher. So any sort of idea, any sort of concept that you put forth in your essay needs to be supported. You can't just leave it unsupported. So that's what I want you to focus on here. And then I think I talked quite a bit about your task 1 and the issues that occurred there. For me, it was missing those key features, and then it was also a lack of detail. Okay. And then there was just way too much going on in your overview. You didn't need to do it. You need to economize. You need to be more concise. Okay. So great reading these essays today. I'm looking forward to the next set, and I'll wait to hear from you. Good luck.